Come on, man, it's not a big deal. Guess that kind of makes me your stepdad now, huh? My lifelong best friend started dating my recently divorced mom, moved into my childhood home. But when I found out his dark secret, let's just say, he never saw the trap coming. All right, I need to get this off my chest because I still can't wrap my head around it. A little background. I'm Jake, I'm 24, and my best friend, Ethan, he is 24, and he has been in my life since we were kids. We grew up together, same schools, same hobbies, even the same dumb humor. He was like a brother to me. My mom, Lisa, 45 years old, has always liked Ethan, but in that, oh, it's cute how close you two are kind of way. My parents were together for over 20 years, but about a year ago, their marriage completely fell apart. It wasn't messy, just sad. My dad moved out, and my mom was left alone in the house we grew up in. She tried to act like she was fine, but I could tell she was struggling. I don't live at home anymore, but after the divorce, I made an effort to check in on her more often. I'd come by for dinner, help her with things around the house, and just keep her company. It felt like the right thing to do. Ethan started tagging along too. At first, I appreciated it. He'd always been good at lightening the mood, and my mom seemed to enjoy having someone else around. He'd crack jokes, bring over takeout, even offer to fix little things around the house. It honestly felt kind of nice. Like even though my parents' marriage was over, at least my mom wasn't completely alone. But after a while, I noticed something a little off. Ethan was always there. Like, I'd show up at my mom's house, expecting a quiet evening with her, and boom, there's Ethan, already sitting on the couch, drinking a beer. Sometimes he was fixing something in the garage. Other times, he was cooking. I figured maybe he was just bored. He'd recently broken up with his girlfriend, so I assumed he was just throwing himself into helping out to keep his mind off things. But then there were little things. I'd call my mom to check in, and she'd casually mention that Ethan had taken her out to dinner. I'd go to grab something from the fridge, and Ethan would say, "Oh, I picked that up for Lisa the other day." Once, I even caught them watching a movie together on the couch, sharing a blanket. That's when something in my brain finally clicked. I tried to shake it off. I was overthinking, right? Maybe he was just being extra supportive. Maybe my mom was just lonely and appreciated the company. But the uneasy feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. And let me tell you, I should have trusted my gut. Because the next conversation I had with my mom, it completely flipped my world upside down. So, where did I leave off? Oh right, the weirdness was creeping in. Ethan was at my mom's house way too much, buying her things, taking her out, acting like he lived there. And even though I kept trying to convince myself it was just him being a good friend, my gut was telling me something wasn't right. Then came the dinner. It was a normal Tuesday night. My mom texted me earlier in the day, asking if I wanted to come over for dinner. No big deal. We had these little dinners all the time since the divorce. But when I walked in, I immediately felt something was off. For starters, the table was actually set. Plates, candles, a bottle of wine already opened. My mom usually just threw together whatever she felt like cooking, but this looked like a planned meal. Then I saw Ethan sitting at the table. I shouldn't have been surprised. He was always around lately. But this time, he had this weird, smug smile on his face. Like he knew something I didn't. I tried to ignore it. I sat down, we started eating, and for a while, it was normal. Just small talk about work, life, random stuff. But every now and then, Ethan and my mom would exchange these looks. Little glances. Quick smiles. What the hell was going on? Finally, after a painfully long silence, my mom cleared her throat and said, "So, Jake, I've been meaning to tell you something." I stopped mid-bite. I don't know why, but my stomach dropped before she even said it. Mom, Ethan and we've been spending a lot of time together. And, well, we're dating. I choked on my food. Like, physically could not breathe for a second. What? I looked at Ethan, waiting for him to laugh and say, "Dude, she's messing with you." But no, he just sat there, smiling. Like he was waiting for my reaction. Me? You're joking. Mom, I know it's a little unconventional, but we didn't plan this. It just happened. It just happened. I turned to Ethan, still waiting for him to jump in and say something. Anything, to make this less insane. But all he did was shrug and say, "I care about your mom, man." Like this was some normal thing. I put my fork down, my appetite completely gone. My brain was trying so hard to process how the hell my best friend, the guy I grew up with, the guy who used to make fart jokes in my room, was now dating my mother. It felt like a glitch in the universe, something that shouldn't be real. And my mom, she just kept smiling like this was the best news ever. I don't even remember how the rest of dinner went. I think I muttered something like, "I need a minute," and left the table. I sat in my car for a solid 20 minutes, just staring at the steering wheel, trying to convince myself that this was just a bad dream. But it wasn't. And worse, this was only the beginning. So yeah, Ethan and my mom were dating. I thought that was the worst of it, that I'd just have to deal with the occasional awkwardness and weird family gatherings. But no, it got worse. Way worse. At first, I tried to ignore it. I avoided my mom's house for a while, told myself she was an adult and could make her own choices, no matter how insane they were. Ethan and I barely spoke, which was fine by me because I had no idea how to even process what he'd done. But then, one day, I stopped by my mom's house to pick up some stuff I left in the garage. Ethan answered the door. Not my mom. Ethan, wearing a t-shirt that wasn't his. My dad's t-shirt. I had to literally blink twice to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Me? Where's my mom? Ethan? Oh, she's out running errands. What's up? What's up? What's up? I should have walked away right then. But I was still frozen in disbelief at the fact that my best friend was standing in my childhood home, wearing my dad's old clothes, looking way too comfortable. So I go inside, and that's when I start noticing other things. His shoes are by the door, his everyday sneakers. His keys are on the counter. His gaming console, the one he used to keep at his own place, is now plugged into my mom's TV. That's when it hit me. Ethan didn't just visit here a lot. He lived here now. I turned back to him. You moved in? And this guy shrugs. Shrugs. Like it's nothing. Like he hadn't just inserted himself into my family's home like a parasite. Ethan, yeah, it just made sense, you know? Your mom was living here alone, and I was already here all the time, so, I don't even know what I said after that. Probably something like, dude, this is insane. But Ethan? He just leaned against the counter, looking so damn pleased with himself. Then he dropped the line that officially made me lose my mind. Ethan, I guess that kind of makes me your stepdad now, huh? I swear to God, my soul left my body. I stared at him, waiting for him to say he was joking. That stupid grin was on his face, like he was enjoying watching me mentally spiral. Me, don't ever say that again. And then he laughed. This smug, amused little laugh. Like he was playing a game and I was just another piece on the board. I walked out. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand in that house one more second knowing my best friend was now living my dad's old life. But that was only the start. Because Ethan wasn't just dating my mom. He was starting to act like he was in charge. And I had no idea how much worse things were about to get. At this point, it was clear, Ethan wasn't just dating my mom. He was taking over. He had moved in. He was setting rules in the house, deciding her schedule, even talking to me like I was some guest who needed to respect how things are now. And the worst part? My mom was letting him. I needed to step back. I needed to figure out what was really happening, because something about this didn't feel right. But before I could do that, Ethan did something that made my blood boil. A couple of weeks later, my mom invited me over for dinner again. I almost said no, but I was worried. Worried that she wasn't seeing what I was seeing. So I went. And, of course, Ethan answered the door. The moment I saw his face, I knew something was off. Hey, buddy, he said, flashing a grin like this was his house now. I ignored the smugness in his voice and walked inside. The first thing I noticed was the chair. My dad's old chair. The one he sat in for 20 years. Even after the divorce, my mom never let anyone take that spot at the table. It was just understood. And there was Ethan, sitting in it. I stopped in my tracks, my stomach twisting. That's my dad's seat, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. Ethan leaned back casually, picking up his glass like nothing was wrong. Yeah, well, things change, man. I turned to my mom, waiting for her to step in, to say something, but she just gave me a tired look, like she was expecting me to get over it. And that's when it hit me. Ethan wasn't just dating my mom. He was replacing my dad. And my mom, she was letting it happen. After dinner, I tried to have a normal conversation with my mom, but Ethan kept inserting himself. I mentioned needing to borrow a tool from the garage, and before my mom could respond, Ethan jumped in. Oh yeah, I reorganized all that, he said. Let me know if you need help finding anything. I frowned. Reorganized? That was my dad's workspace. Who the hell did he think he was? A few minutes later, I joked about something dumb from my childhood, something my mom would normally laugh at. But before she could say anything, Ethan grinned. Oh man, Lisa told me all about that. Hilarious. Lisa. Not mom. Lisa. Like he was on the same level as me now. Like we were just two guys talking about his girlfriend. I clenched my jaw. He was taking over everything. And then came the final straw. As I was leaving, I told my mom I'd swing by on the weekend to help her with something. Before she could even open her mouth, Ethan cut in. Actually, Lisa and I are going to be out that day, he said. Rain check. I turned to him slowly. Excuse me? I looked at my mom, waiting for her to push back, to tell him he didn't get to speak for her. But she just nodded along like this was normal. I let out a sharp breath. Mom, you don't need to run your schedule through Ethan. She sighed, rubbing her temples. Jake, don't be dramatic. We just have plans. I stared at her, then at Ethan. He was watching me. Not angry. Not defensive. Just watching. Like he was waiting for me to snap. Like he was enjoying this. I clenched my jaw, nodded, and walked out. Because I finally realized what was happening. Ethan wasn't just dating my mom. He was taking over. And if I didn't do something soon, I was going to lose her completely. At this point, I wasn't just angry. I was suspicious. Ethan had weaseled his way into my mom's life way too fast. He wasn't just dating her. He was controlling her. Setting rules. Speaking for her. Even sitting in my dad's old seat like he belonged there. Something about it didn't sit right with me. So I started digging. I had known Ethan since we were kids. Or at least, I thought I knew him. But when I started looking deeper, I realized something weird. I had never really known much about his past relationships. He never talked about his exes. He always brushed it off with, it didn't work out. Or, she was crazy. But I never thought to ask more. Until now. I searched social media. Old posts. Mutual friends. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe some proof that he had a pattern, some evidence that this wasn't just a coincidence. And then I found something that made my stomach drop. Ethan had done this before. I tracked down an old friend of Ethan's from high school. Someone he hadn't talked to in years. I played it off like I was just catching up, but eventually, I steered the conversation toward Ethan's past relationships. That's when he mentioned Amanda. She was older, he said. Divorced. Had her own house. Ethan moved in with her pretty fast. A sick feeling twisted in my gut. What happened to her? I asked. The guy hesitated, like he wasn't sure if he should tell me. Then he sighed. She just left. I blinked. What do you mean, left? One day she was talking about selling her house. Cutting ties. Then, boom, gone. No one really heard from her after that. She just disappeared? Well, she moved, he said. At least, that's what Ethan said. But the weird part? Her family barely knew anything. She cut off a bunch of people before she left. That sick feeling got worse. Because I had heard this story before. It was exactly what was happening to my mom. That night, I went over to my mom's house. I told myself I wasn't going to accuse him outright. I needed to be smart. I needed proof. I sat down across from him in the living room. So, I said casually, you ever think about the future? Like, what's next for you and my mom? Ethan smirked. We're taking things one step at a time, he said. But yeah, I mean, she's talked about selling the house. Moving somewhere fresh. Could be nice, you know. A chill ran down my spine. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. That's a big step. You think she'll actually do it? He leaned back, stretching his arms behind his head. I mean, it makes sense, right? This place has a lot of memories. And, you know, sometimes people just need to start over. Start over. Just like Amanda. I pressed him more. And after she sells? What? You two just moved somewhere new. Ethan chuckled. Maybe. I take care of her, man. I handle things. That's just how it is now. My hands clenched into fists. I had heard enough. He was planning something. He was pushing my mom to get rid of everything, just like he did with Amanda. And I had to stop him before it was too late. The plan. I knew just telling my mom wouldn't work. She was already under Ethan's influence. If I walked in with proof and tried to talk her out of the relationship, she'd just say I was jealous or overreacting. I had to let Ethan expose himself. So I set a trap. I pretended to give in. I started coming around more, acting like I was warming up to the idea of Ethan being part of the family. I laughed at his dumb jokes. I asked him for advice. I played the role of accepting son. And just like I expected, he got comfortable. Too comfortable. That's when I made my move. I knew just telling my mom wouldn't work. She was already under Ethan's influence, convinced that he was taking care of her, and that I was the one overreacting. If I walked in with accusations, she'd just dismiss it as me being jealous or unable to accept her moving on. So I had to let Ethan expose himself. I had to set a trap. I started pretending to accept him. It wasn't easy. Every time I saw him lounging in my dad's old chair or answering the door like he owned the place, I wanted to rip him out of my mom's life. But I had to play it smart. I started showing up more, acting like I was warming up to the idea of Ethan being part of the family. I laughed at his dumb jokes, asked him about random things like we were still friends, even made small talk about his and my mom's future. It was nauseating, but I needed him to let his guard down. And he did. One night, after dinner, we were sitting outside on the patio. My mom had gone to bed early, leaving me alone with Ethan. He looked relaxed, sipping on his beer like everything was perfect. I leaned back in my chair and casually brought up money. So, my mom was talking about selling the house, I said. Guess it makes sense, right? Fresh start, new place. Ethan perked up immediately, like I had just played into exactly what he wanted. He shrugged, acting like it was no big deal. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. She could use a fresh start, you know? I nodded, swirling my drink in my glass. And I mean, the house is worth a lot. She'd probably get a pretty good deal. Have you guys talked about what's next? Like after she sells? He took a sip of his beer and smiled. Honestly, man, she's better off letting me take care of all that. You don't really want to deal with her finances and stuff, do you? My stomach twisted, but I kept my face neutral. I pulled out my phone under the table and hit record. I pushed a little further. So what's your plan then? Stick around until she sells, then what? Convince her to put everything in your name. I expected him to backpedal, to deny it, to say I was crazy for even suggesting that. But he didn't. He laughed, like full-on chuckled. Jake, man, I know this is hard for you, but let's be real. Your mom needs someone. And yeah, I take care of her. I handle things. That's just how it is now. I stared at him, my heart pounding. He actually believed it. The arrogance, the smugness. He had already decided that this was his life now, that my mom and everything she owned belonged to him. I kept my voice casual. So, you'd want her to put everything in your name? Ethan grinned. I mean, yeah, it just makes sense. She doesn't need to worry about that stuff. Boom. I had everything I needed. The next morning, I showed my mom the recording. At first, she refused to believe it. She got defensive, saying it was taken out of context and that Ethan didn't mean it like that. Then I told her about Amanda. I laid out everything I had found, how he had done this before, how another woman just like her had moved away after he isolated her from everyone. I watched as my mom's face changed. At first, she was in denial. Then she got quiet. Her hands started shaking, and I knew she saw it now. She stood up without a word and walked into the bedroom. 5 minutes later, Ethan came storming out with a bag in his hand. She's making a mistake, he said, his voice sharp. I just smiled. No, Ethan. You did. My mom threw him out that night. She blocked him on everything. And just like that, he was gone. A few weeks later, curiosity got the best of me. I checked his social media. And guess what? He had already found another woman. Another older divorcee. Another fresh start. I thought about warning her. But some people have to learn the hard way. As for my mom, she's doing great now. She's finally realizing how much control Ethan had over her, how he slowly made her trust him more than her own family. It took some time, but we're closer than ever. And me? Well, I lost my best friend. But at least I don't have a stepdad named Ethan.